Some of the most successful companies were created based on technology developed on college campuses. Google, Gatorade, and CRISPR are just a few examples. Here at Rice University, we've also had our own fair share of success stories, such as Volumetric, which was acquired for $400 million by 3D Systems, and Prometheus, which was acquired for $1 billion by Roche. If you've ever dreamed of creating your own successful company and having a nine-figure exit, here are some steps that you should take. The first step in beginning this process is going to be identifying the intellectual property, or IP, that you're interested in licensing. If you're a Rice faculty, staff, or student, we encourage you to start this process by reaching out to our office to ensure that you've completed all necessary steps in order for this technology to be available for licensing. This is a perfect opportunity to ensure that you've completed all necessary documentation, such as invention disclosure forms and assignment forms, which both must be signed before we can license this technology to your startup or any other company. If you're not a Rice affiliated team member and you're looking for a list of available technologies, head over to our tech transfer website where we have a full list of available technologies here at Rice University. Great thing is you can actually filter these available technologies based on the faculty member who's an inventor on the technology, or you can filter technologies based on industry sectors or industry tags and keywords that align with your interests. You can find the link for the available list of technologies in the description below, or you can always reach out to our office directly at techtran@rice.edu. So feel free to reach out today if you have any questions and you need help finding technologies that align with your company or your startup interests. Now that you've identified the IP that you're interested in, let's move on to the next step, which is securing that IP with an option agreement. When discussing option agreements, I always like using an analogy of an option period when you're buying a home. If you're familiar with the home buying process, it begins by identifying a home that you're interested in. Once you've identified the home that you want to buy, you then have to put the home under contract. In order to put the home under contract, you have to put down what's known as earnest money deposit, basically giving you the exclusive right to negotiate and inspect the home further so that you can buy it. This reserves the home exclusively for you and prevents anybody else from doing so. Also, it gives you what's known as an option period where you have additional time to do due diligence on the home, get an inspection, look at school districts, etc., and make sure that this is the home you actually want to buy. Similar to the home buying process, the option agreement gives you the exclusive right to assess if this IP is actually what you want and need in order to make your company successful. There's also a fee associated with the option agreement. And then last but not least, there's a set option period where you'll be able to do all your due diligence, investigate further, and make sure that this is the IP that you actually need. Typically, this option period or this time where you have to assess the technology further is typically 6 months long. However, we do provide up to 3-month extensions if you pay an additional option fee for those extensions. There are some great benefits to the option agreement. Number one, and first and foremost, it is the exclusive right, meaning nobody else can come in, nobody else can take this IP from you once you have it tied up underneath an option agreement. Number two, we have seen cases where startup founders or companies have been able to go out and fundraise from different VCs or investors once they have an option agreement in place, because again, it gives you that exclusivity before you can go from the option agreement into the full license agreement. And that brings us to step 3, assessing the commercial potential and developing a business plan for your startup. One of the primary goals of tech transfer is to promote the translation of this research from the research lab into commercially viable products and services. We want to see this technology translated further to help the greater good. And in order to do so, a lot of times we want to ensure that we're finding the right partner that can help be successful in this process. Of course, there's no guarantees in life, but we want to feel as confident as possible that you are the right partner to help translate this technology from the research lab into industry-ready products and services. Here are a few things that you can do to ensure that you actually give us that level of confidence. Number one, and first and foremost, is developing a business plan. We want to see what products, what services do you have in mind that you can create from this technology that you want to license. Number two, what is your fundraising plan? Of course, everything costs money and you're going to need money to develop your startup company. So what is that timeline? What does that plan look like in terms of fundraising? But also, or maybe even more importantly, what does that timeline look like in terms of developing this technology further? We understand that a lot of our technology is early stage, and we want to see what your thoughts and what your plans are in order to develop the technology further and get it from wherever it's at currently, whether it's a prototype or whatever, to an actual product and service that's on the market. We understand that a lot of times this can require you to talk further with key inventors or researchers who are working on this technology. And our office can assist you in a number of ways, such as confidentiality agreements in order for you to have free discussions with our researchers and dig deeper into what's needed to translating or further developing the technology. When doing your business plan, we also like to see that you've outlined or completed a planned assessment for the technology, meaning how are you going to verify that this is the right technology for you and your company? What is your due diligence plan to ensure that this is the right technology for you and your company to license? Once you fulfilled all the requirements that we outlined, such as the business plan, the assessment plan for the technology, you can then move forward to the next step, which is step 4 of negotiating a license agreement. The license agreement has many key elements to it, and there's typically different terms that we do provide you for the license agreement. But ultimately, the best thing about the license agreement is that it allows you to have the potentially exclusive right to make, market, produce products and services based on patented technology from Rice University. Some of the key components that go into the license agreement are equity terms, upfront license fees, royalty payments, annual license fees, and milestone payments. We have typical license agreement templates that we can provide to you upon request so that you can review some of the definitions and terms and typical agreements that we sign. After you've completed a license agreement, that brings us to our last point, which is ultimately up to you, which is building a successful team and executing. Obviously, nobody can build a company completely on their own, and we don't anticipate that you will either. Back in the option agreement, we have a point that I really didn't hit on too much, but we typically like to see our licensees or companies have a business team in place that has some type of experience with commercializing products and building successful companies. We think this is an imperative in order for you to hit the ground running and actually go from being a researcher or an engineer into somebody who can actually build a successful company. Our office is here to help you be successful in any way that we can. That includes connecting you with different resources on campus, such as Rice Entrepreneurship Center, Rice Alliance, and other resources, or also just leveraging our network and connecting you with different resources that we have available.